Hi, Gary Stearman. Welcome to another Prophecy Watchers Daily Update. And today we're privileged to have in studio with us a couple of authors who have co-authored this book called Alien Agenda. Aaron Judkins over on my far left and Michael McDaniel. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Let's talk about UFOs. You got a book here that has a picture of a big green UFO with a beam shining down over the Great Pyramid. Whoa, that leads me on. Isn't it funny? Every time we mention UFOs, we all chuckle and laugh like it's a silly subject. You know, oh, UFOs, ha, ha, ha. And we laugh it off, but it's really a serious subject. It has to do with the dark side, I think.
You know, for me, I had a big question mark in the back of my mind since I was 17. I witnessed this strange ball of light that defied all kinds of, physical laws. I never knew what that was, and I went on with the rest of my life. But in 2008, there was a sighting near Stephenville, Texas, that was called the Stephenville Lights. It was near the nuclear plant in Glen Rose, Texas, and then proceeded towards Stephenville. It was pursued by F-16s out of Carswell Air Force Base out of Fort Worth. At that time, through the Freedom of Information Act, I wasn't involved, but others were able to release those FAA reports, and it shows the radar detection of the UFO and the F-16s in pursuit.
What were they seeing? What was the UFO doing?
It was racing at very high speeds, according to the people I interviewed that witnessed this. The FAA reports on the radar clocked it at speeds of 1,800 miles an hour or more.
And was it like a flying disc or something?
Well, it was lights. The people who witnessed this reported it as lights, but it was low and it was flying very fast. And Steve Allen says that the lights, were in one direction and then they kind of spread out. But whatever this thing was moving very fast. A lot of people saw it. So this whole thing about the UFO phenomenon, for me, because of that 2008 sighting, really, piqued my interest again. As an archaeologist, I knew things in the ancient past and history about other cultures who reported such things in the past. This is nothing new. And then Dr. McDaniel and I decided, there were so many people asking questions about what they saw. We thought we wanted to give a fresh approach and an answer to what this phenomenon is from a biblical perspective.
Well, Michael, you're a pastor teacher, and you approach this subject through the Bible. How do you do that exactly? What do you tell people? And by the way, I think you're going to get more and more of an opportunity to tell people about this. I think it's a burgeoning phenomenon. I think it's getting more and more commonplace. How do you counsel people about UFOs?
Well, I agree with what you said about things are happening more and more. Back in the old days, we used to see increases and then a drop off, and we called those flaps.
Right.
UFO. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And they were pretty timely. Every so many years, you'd see an increase in activity. But things are kind of moving along now.
It's just one big flap.
It just seems to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have read the statistics, and it seems like every month, every, say, half year, you see an exponential increase in sightings. And usually the things that are sighted are globes of light, sometimes saucer-shaped lights, sometimes clusters of lights, but they're doing odd things that attract people's attention. We've had several of those sightings here in the Oklahoma City area. One over a local lake, where the thing was said to have risen out of the lake and climbed to an altitude and disappeared. And the people by the lake, looked at this and said, wow, this is, what can we say about this? Well, what can you say? Angels, demons, supernatural? What do you say when somebody asks you?
Well, we certainly take the tack that this is demonic in nature. This is not the Lord's doing, and the things that are going on here, we believe, are part of a worldwide deception orchestrated by Satan in order to acclimate people to certain untruths that he is trying to promote in the world. move people away from the truth of the Bible, away from the true and the living God. We don't believe that they're extraterrestrials and they're from somewhere across the galaxy, but we do believe that this is part of the course that Satan has charted for this world.
It's sort of a misleading event. In other words, it's designed to lead you off into another arena. Is that the agenda?
Well, I think that it certainly is included in it. The promotion of the darkness that Satan is seeking to establish in this world in very particular ways. I wish we had time to talk about that. And the minions that serve with him. We talked some before about principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. All of this is the biblical end of this that people really need to be aware of.
You know, and I'm going to ask Aaron about to comment on this. There is the famous little alien gray, with the big black eyes and the watermelon-shaped gray head. And you see that image everywhere you go. I mean, you go to a filling station and there are key fobs with this kind of a little alien on them. It's everywhere. Yeah. What are these little aliens? Do you comment on that in your book?
We do talk about that in the early part of the book. These are descriptions given by people who have actually encountered these things. They encounter either what they call the grays, or another description is the reptilians. It's very bizarre, and as Christians, this is so far out from what we've ever heard. It's hard to wrap our mind around it. But there's something going on with this, because this is a common thread throughout people who have encountered these. The grays are probably the most prolific, the most common. What are they? Well, we believe they are demonic.
So they are quote-unquote demons.
Well, they possibly could be. They are manifesting themselves physically. But look, every person I've ever talked to has never said, man, that was such a great thing, I want to do it again. Every one of them have been taken against their will. Every one of them have been losing hours of time, in Travis Walton's case, a week of time. It's nothing they wished for in most cases, and it was totally by force. So whatever's going on, it's never good. They never have anything good to say about it. It's always such a horrific experience for them. They never want to have it repeated again. That's how bad this thing is. So in many cases, they're paralyzed. They can't move. They can't even talk. They can't scream for help. This is part of the reason that as Christians, that we are under the protection, right? And in some cases, like Charlie Hick's case, right? He said he was a Christian, yet he had this experience. Why? We don't really know. But there is something that we should, as Christians, be knowledgeable about, we should be aware about, and we should have a defense and a reason. And just like Paul said, we should have a hope and a reason and an answer within us, so we can be, a testimony to the world. And that's what we're doing with this book.
Now, in this book, and we're just going to touch on it and talk more about it on a program we're doing later. I look at a few of the categories here. The mystery of the Sphinx, cherubim and winged serpents, stargates, abductions, forbidden history. You got all those really dark ideas, tantalizing stories and storylines. All of this is covered in biblical narrative. In other words, the Bible explains very fully what's going on, right?
It does. It does. The Bible has a lot to say about the tactics of the adversary and what he's trying to do. And we believe this is one of the means by which he will accomplish that.
The thing about the Bible that always amazes me is that the more enlightened Christians become, the more they see in the Bible. The Bible just sort of endlessly unfolds to explain current events, even though it was written thousands of years ago. It's talking about right now, and this is the astonishing thing. And I think that I see that in your book. You bring that to bear. In other words, the Bible can explain what science can't, right?
We believe that it's way ahead of science.
Well, scientists don't want to touch the idea of aliens with a 10-foot pole. You always find classified, above top secret, Area 51, can't talk about that. I have a special license from the government, and there's just this deadly silence about this phenomenon, but it's the dark side. And the Bible has a lot to say about the dark side, and that sort of comes out through your book.
Yeah, it's talking, there is a force behind that, just like Mike said, there's principalities and powers and wickedness and rulers in high places. But these are forces that are real, they're very powerful. But look, greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. And we don't have to live in fear. And I think that's probably the bottom line on this. We don't have to live in fear. We don't have to be afraid. And we know the power that we have in us that is greater than this power in the world ever could be. And this is the hope and the message that we bring.
And in fact, and that's a good point to close on. We're just about out of time, but in fact, it's a scary thought to think that you might be one of those drivers out in the middle of the night, and your engine stops running and this disc swoops down over your car and shines a bright light down on you. We've seen this in the movies a million times. And you wake up the next morning not knowing where you were. But as Christians, and I, as speaking as a Christian, I don't have any fear of that. If that happened to me, I would, just plead the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. I would ask for help, ask for protection. I'm confident that I can do that, and I really believe that that's sufficient. That's where I come from.
It is. We give very detailed information in the book of what to do if you have an encounter, what you should do, and what you shouldn't do. And what you shouldn't do is openly embrace them. What you shouldn't do is accept them in their message, because their message is always anti-biblical. And that's a very common theme throughout this whole thing. And we give you reasons for what you should be doing according to what the Bible has to say about it.
Well, read the book. It's called Alien Agenda, and it's written by Aaron Judkins and Michael McDaniel. And guys, thanks for dropping by today. This book is in our online bookstore, and we'll be making it available to you. Just go to prophecywatchers.com, check the online bookstore, and you'll find out all the latest info that you need to have about this book and a number of other offerings along similar lines. Glad you visited today, guys, and may the Lord bless your work in the future. We'll see you again soon.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.